Hello and welcome to this session of Groundbreakers Live. I'm your host Javed Mohammed, and I'm very honored to have with us Mohammed Aboullaite, no relation. Mohammed, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Mohammed heads up engineering at xhub, and I think I met you briefly at in Devox, Morocco, and I understand you are based now in Casablanca.
Exactly. I'm based in Casablanca, Morocco. I work at xhub, as you have mentioned, and I'm also part of the steering committee of Devox Morocco.
Oh,
So yeah,
excellent.
we have met at Devox Morocco in the sunny Agadir.
Yes, it was a great conference.
Thank you.
Um, all right. So today's conversation is about your presentation at the upcoming Dev.next. I love your title. What the hell is service mesh anyway? And is it really going to make your life whatever? Um, so,
Exactly.
so why don't we just start off with that question? So what the heck is service mesh?
So yeah, the idea came after like a discussion with my colleagues, my coworkers, and my friends at conferences and stuff. And there is a lot of hype around like service meshes. Uh, is it going to make your life easier? Are they necessary for your architecture, microservice architecture? Are they only for microservice architecture? What is the difference between service meshes and all the technologies that we already have, like USBs and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
So the service mesh, what I'm trying to tell behind this presentation, and what my goal will be, is to mention the use cases when you need service mesh and when not, until basically that service mesh is not something new. It's not a new technology, but it's instead um, best practices of all the stuff that we had and the lessons learned from all the practices that we had, starting from the monolith architecture, from mules and USBs and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
microservice architecture, and all the stuff that we need to manage our microservices, from routing, from how we manage releases, how we deploy easily
Okay.
our
Before you kind of get
microservices, how we monitor them. So,
so, yeah, so so before you get into that, because obviously it's a huge topic, but at the most basic level, what is
yeah.
service mesh? So it's a way for microservices or just services to communicate at its most fundamental level?
Yeah, it's basically a way on how to connect our microservices, or how to connect and manage your microservices, and enable you more observability, more security, and connect your microservices in a better way. In a plain words, I would say it's make connection. It's a framework or a set of tools that make connection between your microservices or your different services more flexible, more
Mhm.
reliable, and somehow fast.
And before service mesh, how did microservices communicate?
So normally it was a long path. So historically, if you remember service-oriented microservices, they were basically the cool thing at the time, and they come with a lot of challenges. So they were hard to manage. And then we came up with the USB stuff and said that this is basically the solution, but it didn't work as well. So the microservices started around like 2010 or something, and we had like some huge success from many companies like Netflix and Twitter and stuff. And if we take, for example, the Twitter or the Netflix case, they basically developed some libraries that enable them to connect those microservices, like some libraries for load balancing, some services for service discovery and other services. But those things, or those services, are heavily related and language dependent. So they depend on each framework and on each language. So for example, if you have, so for Netflix, they have been using Java, and they developed all those libraries and included them with their applications to better manage their microservices. But the issue is if you have a multi-stack or a multi-language microservices, let's say, for example, you have some microservices with Java, some microservices with Go, some microservices with Node.js, you need to use each library and embed it into your application to manage microservices. And it's going to be hard to like for compatibility between those different stack and different languages. So microservices, it's not service meshes, it's not language dependent, and it's not platform dependent as well. So you can use them with any language, with any framework, and with any platform. So those are basically one of the main benefits of using service meshes.
And I'm assuming that when you bring in something like service mesh, although it has many benefits, but there's also an order of complexity involved with it. So when does it make sense to use service mesh and when does it not?
So the best answer is if you have a use case, use microservices. And there are some cases that you probably will need, and it justifies the need to use a microservices. Like, for example, if you want to modernize your existing infrastructure, so you have a new project and you want to you modernize your existing infrastructure with new architecture and new tools, to make probably a good fit to start using service meshes and explore them, since you don't have this legacy application that make it hard to integrate with service meshes. So if you have kind of service sprawl, or you want to start the migration from monolith application, as I've mentioned it too, this microservices starting decoupling to service by service, service meshes will kind of make it easier for this migration and making the connection and the communication between all those microservices a lot more easier. So if you have release bottlenecks and you have some problems with the cadence of release, and service meshes will probably help you as well. If you have adopted already microservices architecture and you have some problems debugging your microservices and don't know between all those services where the problem is, and it's hard for you to debug and to detect when there is a problem. So service meshes will probably help you in that. And if you want to go beyond microservices and try new things like chaos testing and chaos engineering, so service meshes will have a big value in that. So those are some of the cases that make like justify the use of service meshes.
Okay, and thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure that there's, as I said, there's probably so many things you have to consider when you architect any of these things. Is there like any best, I'm sure there are many best practices, but is there like one or two best practices you can share about trying to implement service mesh?
Yeah, so it's, I would say find the right use case for using service meshes. That's the first thing. And start small. So check, start with small set of microservices, see how those microservices work together, try learning the technology and what features it offers and what limitation it comes with, because there is this learning curve for learning service meshes. It's not a technology that is easily adaptable, and by tomorrow you will be familiar with it. It needs some time. It's probably gonna break some stuff in your existing architecture and your existing production. So the first thing is to start small, start exploring, start considering microservices and service meshes one by one, introducing for a small range of your microservices, and then if everything goes all right, then you can start incrementally adopting more features and making it large into your architecture and your organization. And the second thing I would say is the more, just to keep in mind that the more microservices you have, the more benefit you will gain from service meshes. In my opinion, it doesn't make really a huge impact or huge benefit from using service meshes if you have only one monolith application or small set of service meshes, because as I have told in the beginning, so service meshes are basically the combination of multiple tools and open source tools that make it really that work really good together. So if you have a small set of microservices, you will have some benefits, but not as not as big as if you have like many microservices. So
Okay.
start small, have the real use case, don't follow the hype, don't use service meshes because it's becoming the hype now, it's everybody talking about them. So find the right fit, find the right use case, and then the more, keep in mind that the more microservices you have, the more benefit you will gain from adopting service mesh stuff.
Okay, Mohammed. So it sounds like a really exciting and comprehensive presentation, and we hope the folks out there will come and check it out.
I
Before I
hope
let you
so.
go, absolutely. So before I let you go, I always like to ask something non-technology related. So you live in Casablanca. So if someone was going to
Yeah.
visit Morocco and come to Casablanca, what's one? I'm sure there are many things to do there, many foods to try, many places to visit. But what's one recommendation you would give to someone like, if you come to Casablanca, you must what?
So the food is amazing, and you mentioned that, and there are many good plates, and the Moroccan cuisine is awesome. But Casablanca is known by one of the big mosques in the whole Africa.
Uh-huh,
So if you came to Casablanca, you need definitely to visit Hassan II Mosques.
uh-huh.
Is near, it's near the beach out there, and it's one of the biggest, and you see one of the big mosques, I think in the Muslim world and the world, and the biggest one in Africa. So definitely to check that out.
Okay.
So it's have this traditional Moroccan architecture with different stuff. It's really mind blowing.
Yeah. I have seen pictures of it, and it does look amazing. Well,
Yeah.
Mohammed, thank you so much for giving us your time and for talking all about service meshes, and all the best.
Thank you a lot for all the stuff that you are doing for the community. I hope it was useful, and thank you very much.